Ah, Kinshasa. You can almost feel the energy shift in the city, can't you?
You really can. There's definitely a buzz.
And today we're digging into some really significant political news that's got pretty much everyone talking here. You sent over those articles, Mokuminji, for keeping us in the loop, by the way. And it looks like things between the current government and former President Kabila have really taken a sharp turn.
A very sharp turn, yes.
So what's the headline here? I mean, the big news.
Well, the government has announced a suspension. A suspension of the activities of Kabila's political party, the PPRD.
Right, the PPRD. That's a major move. Huge potential ripple effects across the country, I'd imagine.
Definitely.
So, okay, we're going to unpack exactly what's happening, try to understand the government's reasoning, why now, and look at what these reports suggest might be coming down the line. Think of this as your inside track to understanding this crucial development. With us, as always, is our expert, ready to help us navigate the complexities. So let's just dive right in. What struck you as most significant when you first saw these reports?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is how directly the government is linking this whole suspension to the ongoing security crisis in the East.
Okay.
The announcement itself on Saturday, April 19th, it specifically mentions the context of rising tensions. And Joseph Kabila's presence in Goma.
Goma, right.
A city, as we all know here, under the shadow of the M23 armed group.
So this immediate connection suggests the government sees these two things as, well, deeply intertwined.
Exactly. And the government isn't holding back in explaining their decision, are they?
Not at all.
The official reason, announced by VPM Jacquemain Shabani, it points to Kabila's ambiguous attitude. That's the phrase they use.
Ambiguous attitude, yes, regarding what they're calling Rwanda's war of aggression.
And they're specifically calling out his surusisant silence, his deafening silence on the occupation of our national territory. That's some serious language being used. It is very serious. And they go further, emphasizing his controversial return to Goma.
Ah, yes, the Goma trip.
The government is making a very clear point that Goma is, quote, under the influence of enemy forces.
Right.
And the allegation, this is the key part, I think, the allegation that his security there is being ensured by these very forces. Well, that's raising, in their words, grave interrogations about his position.
Wow. So it moves beyond just political disagreement.
Oh, absolutely. They are questioning his loyalties, really, at a time of national crisis. You have to remember, the Goma situation is just incredibly sensitive. The M23 presence, the conflict. It's a flashpoint.
Right. And it seems they're trying to build a legal case for this suspension as well.
Yes, that's right. They're citing Articles 29, 30, and 31B of the law on political parties. That's the stated legal basis.
So they're framing this within a legal framework, not just a political one.
Exactly. And those articles, broadly speaking, they outline the responsibilities of political parties to uphold, national unity, sovereignty, territorial integrity. They also provide grounds for suspension. Temporary suspension, if a party is seen as undermining those principles.
So the government's argument is his actions, or maybe his inaction, and being in Goma, that violates these laws.
That seems to be precisely their argument. His perceived inaction, his presence there under those alleged circumstances. They're saying it constitutes a violation of these legal obligations.
And let's not forget the PPRD itself. I mean, founded and led by Joseph Kabila.
Correct.
Even though he's now a senator for life and technically the party's moral authority, his influence is still, well, immense.
Undeniably.
And now the government is accusing him of troubling activism and a culpable, even complicit silence during this huge security crisis. These are heavy accusations, especially for a former head of state.
Indeed. Very heavy. And the consequences are already starting to unfold. The reports indicate the government has referred this whole matter to the prosecutor's office at the Constitutional Court.
Okay, so judicial proceedings are starting.
It signals they intend to pursue this through the legal system, yes. And the Minister of Justice, Constant Mutamba, has apparently ordered legal action against Kabila and his associates, personally.
Personally? On what grounds?
Based on suspicions of supporting the M23.
Supporting the M23? That's huge!
It is. And there's more. There's apparently an order to seize his assets, movable and immovable property.
Seize his assets. Okay, this is escalating very, very quickly.
It shows the seriousness, doesn't it? The level of seriousness with which the government is treating these allegations.
This whole situation around Kabila being in Goma, it really feels like the flashpoint here, doesn't it?
I think so.
All the reports highlight how controversial his arrival was, and the government keeps hammering this point. Goma is under the influence of enemy forces. It paints a picture, of why they view his presence there with such suspicion.
Exactly. The fact that the very forces the National Army is fighting are allegedly providing security for a former president, that is, as the government states, a major point of contention. It directly fuels their narrative of an ambiguous attitude, maybe even potential complicity.
Yeah.
It's a powerful image they're trying to project.
And it's interesting, too, how the government seems to be trying to send a message to, the broader political landscape as well.
How so?
Well, the Ministry of Interior issued that reminder, didn't they? To all political groups about their duty.
Yes. The reminder about defending national unity, the sovereignty of the Congolese state, as well as security and territorial integrity.
Exactly. It feels like they're drawing a clear line in the sand, saying this is about fundamental national interests. Everyone must uphold them.
Precisely. By invoking these core principles, the government isn't just trying to legitimize their actions against Kabila and the PPRD, they're also perhaps preemptively discouraging any dissent or questioning of how they're handling the crisis in the East.
Interesting angle. It's a move to sort of consolidate their authority during a really challenging time for the nation.
That's certainly one way to look at it, yes. A significant national challenge.
So, looking ahead, what now? The immediate suspension of the PPRD's activities nationwide, that's massive in itself.
Huge.
And with legal proceedings now officially underway, it feels like we're entering a really critical and maybe unstable period in the relationship between the current government and the former president.
Definitely critical, especially, as you said, against the backdrop of this ongoing security crisis.
And didn't one report mention that Kabila was actually expected to address the nation from Goma?
It did mention that, yes.
Yeah.
Which, looking back now, makes the government's reaction, this suspension, seem even more preemptive, perhaps.
Yeah, and there was that quote, too, from the government spokesperson, Patrick Muyaya.
Yes.
Yeah.
Upon Kabila's arrival in Goma, Muyaya apparently stated, "Today, we know the enemy and its accomplices."
Oof. That statement, made before the suspension was announced, it now carries a very ominous tone, doesn't it?
It strongly suggests the government had already formed a pretty clear opinion about Kabila's role, or perceived role, even then.
Okay, so, wow. A lot to unpack there for you listening in Kinshasa and across the DRC.
A great deal, yes.
This isn't just your typical political squabble, is it? The government is making some very serious accusations, taking very significant action against a major political force. And the fact that Kabila was in Goma, a city influenced by rebels, that's clearly a central and highly sensitive point in this whole situation.
Absolutely central.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener?
Well, it really underscores the deep and, frankly, complex tensions around the ongoing conflict in the east of our country.
Yes.
And how profoundly those tensions are impacting the political landscape right here in Kinshasa and everywhere else. It raises some really important questions, I think. Questions about the roles different political actors are playing and what this might mean for the future stability of the DRC.
And what's particularly striking, I find, is how the government is so directly linking Kabila's actions, or his perceived inaction, to these fundamental issues: national sovereignty, territorial integrity.
Right, the core principles. This legal path they've chosen, going to the courts, it suggests they're aiming for a substantial, maybe even long-lasting impact on the political future here.
A lasting impact?
And this also brings up a crucial question, maybe something for you, the listener, to consider. How might these events reshape the political dynamics in the DRC? In the months to come? It's a development with potentially far-reaching consequences for all of us.
Absolutely. It's a story that is clearly still unfolding, and one that will likely have significant implications for everyone here. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.
Thank you.
We definitely encourage you to keep following the news, keep reading, and forming your own informed opinions. Until our next deep dive, this has been The Deep Dive.